Today, Flosstube, Anna, aka Moranalis, back with a stitching update. Welcome to everybody. Hope you've got a coffee. You're stitching. This is all about the cross stitch stuff I've been working on recently. So if you're not a cross stitcher, I'm not sure how you found this, but you'd probably be bored to tears. But enjoy your coffee. I am trying to fit this video in super quick between the family Zoom call, the 7-year-old birthday party Zoom call, and all the other obligations that life throws at me. So hopefully it should be a relatively short, tidy video because I don't have a lot of time. Let's get straight into it. Just straight whips today, no plans, no nothing else. And in no particular order. We have the, I didn't pull the book. Put it on the bottom, I can't remember the name. A Sea to Stitch, maybe? Oh, the name of the book. It's got all the letters of the alphabet. I'm spelling the word beach because it seemed appropriate for the theme. The book gives you about 6 different colorways. I just thought this was wicked cool. So I did the, get that thread out of there, I did the starfish. That was pretty painless, pretty trivial. It's several layers of padding and then a satin stitch across the top with a French knots on top of that. So it's quite dimensional, but very, very trivial to implement. Piece of cake. Then I was all excited and I'm like, well, let's start these shells because the base white layer that you can see there is the same padding technique. And then the gray is basically just single runs of a length of thread. In the book they call them ribs, that are basically going to be the framework for kind of a woven stitch over the top. So most of this that's visible now actually won't be seen when those shells are finished. So that much was relatively trivial. I have had about 4 goes now at getting that last top layer of woven layer over those ribs in place, and it just does not look right. So I've ripped it out about 4 times. I need to sit down in front of YouTube when I have more time to concentrate and have another go at that. Not sure I'm going to get there this weekend. It's definitely this sort of job that I just don't think I won't get to during the week. So I need to find a weekend when I just have enough time to sit and think and consider and maybe even do some practice stitches on a separate piece of fabric, because I can tell already, having whichever one I ripped those out of course now my ribs are becoming a bit fuzzy and it's hard to tell which ones, you know, they're kind of all just falling apart. Having said that, you know, worst case scenario, I expect I could simply rip out all those ribs and redo them again as well. It wouldn't be the end of the world. They were fairly easy to put in there. Yeah, so that's where we left it, basically, because I need more time. You can see how I've drawn concentric rings in these other shells. That's basically, they're going to have the same underlaying of padding where you're doing straight stitches and then in the smallest one, and then straight stitches in a different direction in the next string, and more straight stitches in the next string, until you basically fill up the entire area, with that little spot in the middle being the thickest, gives it a nice rounded shape. So that's basically what's under these. But the plan is to, when I get a chance to get back there, finish those 2 shells and then those 2 shells. At that point, all that's left, I believe, is the ropes. So that's where that one's at. The other ones I've been working on, hold on, I didn't bring my board. because I'm not organized. This is a Stony Creek Coastal Lighthouse stocking. And this, you should see actually quite a bit of progress. I went through a period where I was not driving into work every day, was not traveling around, I was working from home, so this was never getting pulled out, and I got to feeling guilty, so I'm like, well, now I need to pull it out and do some deliberate work here at home, and I kind of went to town. So all of this snowbank under here is new. I think there's some more over here. I finished up those posts in the bird, although they were there to some extent. All of this from the bird over to the bricks, the basket, all of that is new. So there's actually a massive amount of progress in there. I did have to rip out the top tier up here because I made a mistake. The other thing, this whole bit with the bird and into the basket, that is all one stitch too high, and I discovered it when the bird was mostly done, and probably a fair bit of the branch in there, but I basically decided it's not going to make that much difference. You know, one stitch, the toe will be just a little bit higher. There's very little in here that will, where the designs, the motifs would merge together, so it's a feature, guys. We're going with it. This whole bit's going to be one stitch too high. It is what it is. But I thought that was excellent progress. This is an even weave, a 32 count Murano, I think. I wrote it down on the paper that I didn't pull out when I filmed this video. Anyway, it's just, I picked an even weave figuring it would be more durable for a stocking front. Rather than a linen. I tend to stitch mostly on linen, and I just thought that whole sort of mottled gray made a really suitable background for this particular piece. So that is the Stony Creek Coastal Lighthouse, I think. It was in a Stony Creek magazine. It would be about a year and a bit old at this point. Because I pulled out the stocking to work on, and that got a fair bit of progress. That stocking is for my youngest son. Then the other children get a bit jealous. And so Maya wanted to see some progress on her Mermaid. So, yeah, this is Bellafilipina's Enchantress of the Abyss. Maya has picked everything on this. So we have, the fabric is Midnight Mermaid. It's under the sea, opal 28 count linen. And you can see she picks one of those fabrics with a gradient. That's what I'm trying to say. Gradient from blues to purples. So this has as well had a fair bit of progress, I think, at this point. There will have been a little bit of fill-in the treasures she's holding, but a lot of the progress is in the start of her tail, there at the base of her body. There's probably a bit of skin, maybe, but you know, most of that skin was there before. It's fill-in and treasures and mermaid body is what's going on now. So it's nice to get into some different brighter greens and stuff. In amongst that treasure, there's still a lot of stitches that need to go in there. They're basically other treasure braid, Krynic stuff that I don't have. Actually waiting on a fair bit of that kind of stuff to come through the mail, hopefully sooner rather than later, although, yeah, I have no indication it's coming anytime soon. So that's a bit of a bummer, but when that shows up, I'll have to go through and do a lot more fill-in in some of these areas that, for the moment at least, I'm considering done. as well. I think there's a fair bit along the back of her body here, and everything that's left in the hair is all falls in that boat too. We're just waiting for specialty stuff I don't have. But, so probably not quite as much progress as the stocking, but still a reasonable amount of progress. The last thing I've been working on, I actually was thinking with this one, I'm surprised how fast it's stitching up. I should just push through and finish it. This is Lena Lawson's Trick or Treat, and I will have to insert an image that shows you what it's meant to look like when it's finished, because I don't have the actual chart handy, just my working copy. Again, made a reasonable amount of progress on this. I have more or less finished that bottom half. In fact, I even started the back stitching on that highly detailed section at the bottom of the T. There'll be plenty of back stitching in this piece. I can't remember whether I had the buckles in already in the metallics last time I filmed or not. But I think there's some buttons that are now filled in the metallic. So most of his coat, so his shirt is a lot of whites, so I haven't filled that in. I've kind of come up his coat, and we'll start going out and do the tees and leave those lighter colors towards closer to the end. But yeah, basically from his waistline down is more or less complete with the exception of back stitching. And yeah, would really like to see the arms of those tees take shape in the next couple of weeks before I film again. And then, you know, I reckon if I could, to be honest, the amount of stitching you're seeing between the before and after was probably only about 3 days worth of stitching. So if I just decided to sit down and finish this thing, I could have it done in a week or a little bit more. I probably won't push that hard, but it would be nice to get it done sort of in the next month at some point. Yeah, I'm really quite surprised with how fast it's stitching up, despite, you know, there's a lot of blends and stuff, particularly in his pants, and again in the oranges in the tee that he's standing on or hanging on. But it's a gorgeous little stitch. Kind of dreading all that back stitch. That bottom took me all afternoon just to do the back stitch on that bottom. But no, it's really super cute. By my standards, it's an absolute tiny piece, so we're ripping through it. But anyway, so this, I believe, is a scrap of 32 count that I dyed myself. I'm pretty sure it's not 28. I think it's 32. But in any case, it's a scrap of linen that was floating around. So yeah, that's about it from me. Just a housekeeping note, I suppose. I generally tend to film on Fridays. My Fridays have evaporated. I'm working on Fridays for the next several weeks. So do not be surprised or worried when my videos are late. I generally try and film every 2 weeks, but you know, I'm not the least bit surprised to see it push out to 3-4 weeks between the next couple of videos. I will be back. I am stitching. It's just life, and life sucks some days. I hope you guys are all keeping well. Sorry it's so short and sweet and rushed, but I wanted to get you something. Okay? I'll see you with a better video in a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys. Bye.